So, we got the new upcoming ML5 who should arrive here in about 1 week or so, right? So, ML Yulha, school nurse Yulha. So, let's take a look at her kit and see what Smilegate has cooked up for us today. So, yeah, so without further ado, let's get into school nurse Yulha.
That's enough whining. Time to be part
Okay, so starting off with her skill 2 passive here. There, it will feel better. At the start of the first battle, increases attack proportional to max HP. At the start of an ally's turn, dispels one debuff from the target and recovers health proportional to the caster's max health. So, at the start of the first battle, increases attack proportional to max health. That is something similar to Fire Ravi that does that. She converts HP into attack. I don't know what the conversion rate will be for this unit. I'm assuming it might be higher, but we will see. At the start of an ally's turn, dispels one debuff from the target. Now, this is essentially giving your entire team a. You can either say a Tory artifact or a wondrous potion vial for themselves, right? So they can get the debuff that's on them off of them, right? On top of that, she has the somewhat of a Maid Chloe passive where it recovers health proportional to her max health. So if you have a squishier unit that's taking a turn and they took a lot of damage, well, when they take their turn, they will get a big heal from that, right? So there is that. So she basically has a Maid Chloe passive, but then with Wondrous Potion Valve for the entire team. And she doesn't need to take the turn to heal. It's just at the start of whoever's turn, right? Whichever ally's turn. So they don't have to wait for you to come around in case you get like pushed back or something, right? So there is that. And she's also a thief with a soul weaver skill set, which is kind of interesting, right? So that is her skill 2 passive. Taking a look at the skill 3, time to be reborn. Okay, dispels all debuffs from an ally. I almost thought it was all allies, except for the caster, before fully recovering health, right? And granting superhumanization to the target for 3 turns and increasing combat readiness by 50%. Okay. When the target is already dead, revive them with 100% health before the same effect is applied. This skill is unaffected by cooldown increase and decrease effects. Okay, so the spell all buff, so it's a full cleanse, right? For an ally except for her, right? Recovering health by full, so it's a full heal, similar to what Ruel does on her. Think of what Ruel does on her skill 3, right? Yeah, think of Ruel, but instead of granting the in invincibility, right? Or yeah, invulnerability. Instead of granting that, yeah, it grants this superhumanization, which is a undispellable buff that increases max health and speed by 100%. In case math isn't mathing for you, it basically doubles their HP and speed, right? So there is that. So that part of the passive is an increase in combat readiness by 50%. So it's also a 50% CR push for the target. Not only is that, but when the target is already dead, she revives them with 100% health before the same effect is applied. So you still get the superhumanization. It's not like a Maid Chloe where when you revive them, they don't get the revive buff. It's not like that. They still get the buff, similar to like what Ruel does. Just think of her as a Ruel, but a thief version of Ruel, kind of, right? Instead of granting like the damage reduction on skill 2, her passive it gives like healing, sustain, and debuff cleanse, right? So it's like a different version of Ruel, essentially. Okay, on a 4 turn cooldown, which sometimes could not, doesn't even matter that the cooldown is not long, and I will talk about that, right? Also, this is unaffected by cooldown increase and decrease effect, which means you cannot reset her, but you also cannot take her into a fight with like, okay, you have Yulha, ML Yulha, and ARAM, and then you just ML Yulha and ARAM, and then you have 2 units with superhumanization on them. So they don't want you to do that. So they took their precautions there. But if they get lucky enough, the Yulha player, then that might not even matter. All right. So and we'll talk about that. Finally, looking at the S1, this will sting. Just see, attacks the enemy with a scalpel with a 65 up to what is this? 75, 80. So 80% chance to inflict 2 bleeding effects for 2 turns. And remember, the bleed scales off attack, and she increases her attack proportional to her HP. Keep that in mind. At the end of the turn, detonates bleeding effects inflicted on the target. Okay. So at the end of the turn, detonate bleeding effects inflicted on the target, and then soul burn for 10 souls. Soul burn for 10 souls, grant an extra attack with the same skill. Not an extra turn, an extra attack. So she will put, instead of 2 bleeding, she'll put 4 bleeding effects, right? 4 bleeds and detonate them when her turn ends. Okay. That would be how that would at first glance. Okay, now let's talk about the unit, right? So at first glance, someone said to me, "Well, she's a revive unit, and a lot of people are briar cleaving, so it doesn't matter that we're getting another reviver." But people are not really like nothing in E7 again is like a 1v1 kind of situation, right? Obviously, there can be mitigation. There can be people who cleanse things, people who can stop you from getting one shot, right? In a lot of cases. What else do we have? She also cleanses herself as well if she manages to take a turn, right? She's a thief, so you can do a lot of things with this character. You can put her on evasion artifact and run her with Setsuka. And then Setsuka was gonna give her like 50% evasion, and then you might. I mean, Raya has a chance, so that doesn't matter. But you can do a lot of things with this unit. And then the artifact that they want you to use her on, that's where I was talking about the skill 3 cooldown there, right? The skill 3 cooldown. It doesn't it says once per turn you can get an extra turn, but if she keeps proccing that extra turn, if she keeps proccing that artifact, she can get multiple turns. I'm pretty sure, right? I have to look at the artifact again, but I'm pretty sure you can proc it multiple times. And if she does, then she can just keep getting cooldown, 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 right? And then press S3 again, then you might be in trouble, Think of how many times, for example, it's the same chance of activating the artifact as Setsuka's artifact, right? So think of sometimes when she procs that lethal whispers, there's a chance for that to happen to you. There's a chance that it just procs a bunch. There's a chance that it doesn't proc a bunch. Tori artifact seems pretty good too, because if they put any debuff on her, like seal or anything on her passive, isn't thing, the artifact will cleanse one of the debuffs for her, which will put her back online, right? Things like I mentioned, you can put her on an evasion artifact and run her with Setsuka if you want to. So if you want to don't not get cleaved or anything like that, you can do a lot of things with this unit. I feel like, you know. And then yeah, superhumanization though, that thing is disgusting. Because we talked about the revive part only, right? So even if you're going into anti-revive units, you're going into a Briar, this thing still has what essentially is doubling your HP, right? So it's harder for you to get killed, right? If you put it on a tankier unit. Something like, think of a Genesis Raz. All right, think of it like this way. Imagine you're playing against a Genesis Raz. A lot of people pick bystander Hua Young and stuff like that into Genesis Raz. Well, now even your bystander Hua Young on a soul burn cannot kill Raz because he has 60k HP. The most she will do is around like 30 to 40k ish, right? Assuming the Raz has some defense and stuff, right? Or give or take. There's that. So even with a soul burn, she's probably not killing Raz anymore, which makes him pretty safe. And then when it comes to things like injury on a unit like that, because your HP got doubled, when you get max injured, you're just gonna be at the HP that you originally were at the start of battle. So you're gonna be at um if you're at 30k HP Genesis Raz, you go up to 60k HP, right? And then now you got max injured, you're back down to 30k. You're still doing a lot of damage, right? You're still doing a lot of damage. So there's a lot of things here. Not only that, she's also doing a CR push. She is doubling the speed of any unit. So if you want, you can forego all of her like HP and anything like that, right? You can forego all of her HP, anything like that, put her on a ton of speed, use her as like a CR booster for, and she's like 115 speed. It's not that, it's probably not going to be that bad to get her around 300 speed, right? Or at least use a bridge to get her there or something like that, right? Get her around 300 speed, use it to push up a unit, give it double speed, double HP so you survive a little bit, you know, so you can survive more, right? She can do a lot of things. She doesn't have to be put into the box of like, okay, I'm just a reviver only. And then she has the revive there for utility, right? The skill one, obvious, not the skill one. The skill two is there in case you get debuffed, except for things like, I wonder. I think it's coming from her passive, so I don't know if it's gonna cleanse like Tenebria's like block ability or anything like that, but it could be really good if you build her like with ER or anything like that. She doesn't have any starting ER, so it's not going to be easy to get her with high ER. But if you can build her in ER and put her in an ER team, and you can kind of have like your more vulnerable units take the seal on them, and then they take a turn and they just remove the seal because she's not sealed. There's a lot of things, bro. There's so many variables with the character. I feel like she can fit in multiple situations, right? So if somebody's looking at ML Yula just from the lens of, oh, she's a reviver, I'll just go anti-revive, it's not the only thing that she's doing. She's doing a lot of things. She's doubling your HP. She's doubling your speed. A 200 unit gets like double speed, 400 speed. They get 400 speed. What are you gonna do about it? They're gonna cycle and lap you like crazy, right? Um, you can protect a lot of squishy units. You have cleansing, you have healing. Then you have her S1, which could help with some damage. And if she procs that artifact enough, she can get another skill 3 off. We can put another superhumanization. Because her skill 3 is 4 turn cooldown on Molagora. Alright, it's a 4 turn cooldown. So if she procs, superhumanization stays up for 3 turns. So if she procs enough, at least just twice she procs the artifact, then she can put up another superhumanization on another unit, another CR push, another potential revive, another double speed unit. There's so many things you can do. So don't just look at the character one-sided. Really look at the entire kit, what she's doing, and how you can take full utility, make use her utility to the best you can. The only thing I will say that we're just lucky. We are lucky that she's coming out at the end of the season. So then when it comes to later on in the season, she will probably be really oppressive with the current like people are running double revive and stuff like that all the time, right? And this is working for them. So I think around the start of the season, she will be very oppressive. And then later on within the new season, not in preseason, it could be in preseason as well, but when the new season starts, and then maybe midway through the new season, what's after this, she will they will probably be releasing a more extinction units and things like that, right? Or they'll have to figure out a way to get around the double HP, double speed thing. But yeah, that's been it about MLU. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.